form of life is an advantage, and it is attained after many, many births and deaths of evolution. So we should not misuse the human form of life. Rather, we should utilize it properly in trying to understand the higher nature, the higher reality, to inquire about God, inquire about our relationship with Him, and inquire about how to liberate ourselves from material bondage. So this is the purpose of this. Arbo? So in continuation, Krishna explained that in this way, the living entity's consciousness, pure consciousness, becomes covered by its eternal enemy, Nitya Vairana, in the form of lust. Then Krishna took time to explain to us the hiding places of lust, the residential quarters of lust in your body, in our bodies, so that we can strategize on how to waylay lust, overcome him, and conquer him. You see, so Krishna gave us a hint, and he said, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of lust, and that through them lust cover the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. So Krishna has revealed the residential quarters of lust in our bodies so that we can consciously target, we can consciously strategize to target and overcome lust. So it is something very, very important. And he has revealed that the senses, we have 5 working senses. They are called kamendriya. Then we have 5 knowledge gathering senses. Lust is hiding there. Then beyond that, the mind, which is the nucleus of the senses, lust is hiding there. And the intelligence, the rational faculty of the living entity, lust is hiding there. So he gave the formula of how to overcome lust, that with the higher self, we should control the lower self. With the soul proper, we control our ego. With the ego, purified ego, we control our intelligence. We control the intelligence, we can control the senses, the mind. And with controlled mind, we can automatically control the senses. Then automatically, even though the allurements, the urges are there, but we will be able to withstand the urges and not succumb, not to become conquered by an enemy called lust. So that brought us to the next verse. So what was the last verse in chapter 3? Therefore, Krishna concluded that thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, Almighty and Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. That deliberate spiritual intelligence is Krishna consciousness. By Krishna consciousness philosophy, Krishna consciousness activities, we should control the mind. And thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy called lust. We gain spiritual strength by Krishna conscious activities. Then we'll be able to have the strength to conquer the enemy called lust. And now, this chapter 4 is beginning with the Lord talking about how he instructed these signs, how he instructed these signs to the sun god. And so the question that should be in your mind is that how is it that Krishna is jumping from lust, this lust explanation, to suddenly talking about the sun god, and descendants from him? Why? What is the connection? What is the connection between chapter 3 and chapter 4? That should be in your mind when we start to read it. And you will see the reason when you read the purport mindfully. You're going to see the reason. So let us start. Verse 1, chapter 4. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavam Aham Avyayam Visvavan Manave Praha Manu Iswakave Bravit.
Translation.
The
True personality of God.
Okay, yeah, carry on.
The personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivaswan, and Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ishwaku. Should I continue?
Yes.
Herein, we find the history of the Bhagavad Gita traced from a remote time when it was delivered to the royal order of all planets, beginning from the sun planet. The kings of all planets are especially meant for the protection of the inhabitants, and therefore, the royal order should understand the science of Bhagavad Gita in order to be able to rule the citizen and protect them from material bondage to lust. Human life is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge in eternal relationship with the supreme personality of Godhead, and the executions and the executive heirs of all states and all planets are obliged to impart these lessons to the citizen by education, culture, and devotion. In other words, the executive heirs of all states are intended to spread the science of Krishna consciousness so that the person may take advantage of this great science and pursues a successful path, utilizing the opportunity of the human form of life. In the millennia, the sun god is known as Vivaswan, the king of the sun, which is the origin of all planets within the solar system. In the Brahma Samhita 552, it is stated, Ya Sashu Esa Savetam Sakalam Grahanam Raja Samastav Suramuti Asesa Teja Yasya Jayam Brahmati Sambitam Kala Chakro Govindam Adipurusha Tamaham Bajami. Let me worship, Lord Brahma said. The supreme personality of Godhead, Govinda Krishna, who is the original person and under whose order the sun, who is the king of all planets, is assuming immense power and heat. The sun represents the eye of the Lord and travels its orbit in obedience to his order. The sun is the king of the planet, and the sun god, at present of the name Vivaswan, rules the sun planet, which is controlling all other planets by supplying heat and light. He is rotating under the order of Krishna, and Lord Krishna originally made Vivaswan his first disciple to understand the science of Bhagavad Gita. The Gita is not therefore a speculative treatise for the insignificant modern scholar, but it is a standard book of knowledge coming down from time immemorial. In the Mahabharata, Santi Parva 348, 51 to 52, we can trace out the history of the Gita as follows. Tatra yoga dacha tato vishvashwamana dadwa manushaloka bitim atam sutaya swakave dado ikswakunam chakam tito yuvyapam lokam avastitam. In the beginning of the millennium, known as Trita Yoga, this science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivaswan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to the son Maharaj Ishwaku. The king of this earth planet and forefather of the Raghu dynasty, in which Lord Ramachandra appeared. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in human society from the time of Maharaj Ishwaku. At the present moment, we have just passed through 5,000 years of the Kali Yoga, which lasts 332,000 years. Before this, there was Dwapar Yoga, 800,000 years, and before that, there was Trita Yoga, 1,200,000 years. Thus, some 2,005,000 years ago, Manu spoke the Bhagavad Gita to his disciple and son Maharaj Ishwaku, the king of this planet Earth. The age of the current Manu is calculated to last 300,000 years, of which 120,400,000 have passed. Accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, the sun god Vivaswan, a rough estimate is that the Gita was spoken at least 120,004,000 years ago. And in the human society, it has been extended for 2 million years. It was re-spoken by the Lord again to Arjuna about 5,000 years ago. That is the rough estimate of the history of the Gita. According to the Gita itself, and according to the version of the speaker, Lord Shri Krishna, it was spoken to the sun god Vivaswan because he is also a Kshatriya and is the father of all Kshatriyas who are descendants of the sun god, or the Surya Vamsa Kshatriyas. Because Bhagavad Gita is as good as the Vedas, being spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this knowledge is Apurusaya, Apusaya, superhuman. Since the Vedic instructions are accepted as they are, without human interpretation, the Gita must therefore be accepted without mundane interpretation. The mundane wranglers may speculate on the Gita in their own ways, but that is not Bhagavad Gita as it is. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita has to be accepted as it is from the disciple succession, and it is described herein that the Lord spoken to the sun god spoke to his son Manu, and Manu spoke to his son Ishwaku. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, so first of all, we see the connection. Arjuna actually is from the dynasty of the sun god. And the general duty of every ruler or administrator is to arrange things, is to engage the citizens in a way that they will be able to conquer loss. The duty of every administrator is to engage his subjects in their occupational duty in such a way that they can become free from lust. And Krishna just spoke about how to become free from lust in the last 8 verses of chapter 3. And now, connecting to chapter 4, he is telling Arjuna about how he has spoken this knowledge to the sun god also. Arjuna is from the lineage of the sun god. And the sun god is a Kshatriya. Arjuna is a Kshatriya also. His duty is to protect the citizens from lust. So just as he spoke to the sun god about it, and he gave the signs of how to conquer lust, he is now giving that same signs to Arjuna because Arjuna is a Kshatriya. And his duty is to protect the citizens from loss by engaging them in their swadam, their occupational activities. So this is the connection. And Bhagavad Gita has to be presented in the spirit of the Gita. And the spirit of the Gita is the spirit of submission, total submission and obedience, non challenging. A lot of people are interpreting Bhagavad Gita for business purposes without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. That's why this Bhagavad Gita as it is, the Prabhupada version of the Gita as it is needed. Because the Prabhupada is a pure devotee, and the pure devotee is now giving interpretation to the Gita as a pure devotee for the devotees. That means Bhagavad Gita as it is given in the spirit of Bhagavad Gita, one who is practicing the Gita, as a devotee. So if we can also understand the Gita in the spirit of devotion, receive it in the spirit of devotion, then we know that we also attain the desired result. So Arjuna, though not in ignorance, but we see how Krishna is going to try to put him in ignorance also, so that he can speak the Gita for us. And Arjuna, though not in ignorance, he has to ask questions on behalf of all other devotees, all other potential devotees. So he assumed the form of somebody who is like bewildered. Then he will ask the question that we're supposed to ask. Then Krishna will use the opportunity to explain. So this is the connection between chapter 3 and chapter 4. Now, verse 2. Evam parampara praptam imamra jasayo vidu sakale nehama hata yoguna parantapa.
This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appeared to be lost. Purport. It is clearly stated that the Gita was especially meant for the saintly kings because they were to execute its purpose. They were to execute its purpose in ruling over the citizen. Certainly, Bhagavad Gita was never meant for the demonic person who would dissipate its value for no one's benefit and would devise all type of interpretation according to personal whims. As soon as the original purpose was scattered by the motive of the
Unscrupulous.
unscrupulous commentators, there arose the need to re-establish the discipline succession. 5,000 years ago, it was detected by the Lord himself that the discipline succession was broken, and therefore it declined that the purpose of the Gita appeared to be lost. In the same way, at the present moment, also, there are so many editions of the Gita, especially in English. But almost all of them are not according to authorized discipline succession. There are innumerable interpretations rendered by different modern scholars, but almost all of them do not accept the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, although they make a good business on the words of Shri Krishna. The scripture is this spirit is demonic because demons do not believe in God, but simply enjoying the property of the Supreme. Since there is a great need of an edition of the Gita in English, as it is received by the Paraparam discipline succession system, an attempt is made herewith to fulfill this great want. Bhagavad Gita, accepted as it is a great boon to humanity. But if it is accepted as a tactic or philosophical speculation. It is simply a waste of time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So many people interpret Bhagavad Gita scholarly. Many big scholars, they write their interpretations of the Bhagavad Gita without touching the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita. You see, they are not devotees, they are not submissive, yet they interpret Bhagavad Gita just for scholastic purposes, also gain some fame that this person I also give a purport to Bhagavad Gita. You must be a devotee to be able to interpret Bhagavad Gita meaningfully. These people are not devotees. They want to make business out of Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita, they have interpreted Bhagavad Gita. So, Srila Prabhupada saved us because people have become confused by the many interpretations of the Bhagavad Gita. Then Srila Prabhupada come to give us Bhagavad Gita as it is, so that we can be saved from the adulteration of the mundane scholars. So this is this. That's why at the beginning, in the introduction, if you can remember, they asked Srila Prabhupada, there are so many versions of the Bhagavad Gita. So many versions of the Bhagavad Gita. So what is the need for you to write another version of the Bhagavad Gita? So Srila Prabhupada explained that some lady approached him to write a version that contains the spirit of the Gita because there are so many interpretations without touching the spirit. So Bhagavad Gita should be received in the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita. And the spirit of Bhagavad Gita is the spirit of submission and devotion, unadulterated devotion. Okay? So that is it. We have to approach Bhagavad Gita not in a challenging spirit, but in the spirit of devotion. And it is that spirit of devotion that is being handed from Paramparam, from discipline succession up to Srila Prabhupada and up to us. So we are fortunate as the Prabhupada came to give Bhagavad Gita as it is. So if you see Bhagavad Gita anywhere, look, is it Bhagavad Gita as it is? Then who is the author? Is the author a devotee? So the Prabhupada has given us the Gita we should use in case we find ourselves in the ocean of Bhagavad Gita. We look for Bhagavad Gita as it is and study it because that's where we get the real import of the Gita. Okay. So the Prabhupada is saving us through the Paramparam. Okay. Test 3. Sa evaya maya teadya yoga prukta puratana bhakto sime sakaseti rahasyam yetadutamam rahasyam.
That very ancient science of relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. Purport. There are two classes of men, namely the devotee and the demon. The Lord selected Arjuna as the recipient of this great science only to his being a devotee of the Lord. But for the demon, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. There are a number of editions of this great book of knowledge. Some of them have commentaries by the devotees, and some of them have commentaries by the demons. Commentation by the devotee is real, whereas that of the demon is useless. Arjuna accepts Sri Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, and any commentary on the Gita follow in the footsteps of Arjuna is real devotional service is read devotional service to the cause of this great science. The demonic, however, did not accept Lord Krishna as he is. Instead, they concoct something about Krishna and misled general readers from the path of Krishna instructions. Here is a warning about such misleading paths. One should try to follow the discipline succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by this great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna.
Good. So yeah, thank you very much. The same is being explained because it is very, very important that fundamentally we don't just read any Bhagavad Gita. We have to read Bhagavad Gita as it is. We have to study Bhagavad Gita as it is. And we have to study it from somebody who is in the line of discipline succession. Yes. We have to study Bhagavad Gita from someone who is in the line of discipline succession so that our innocence will not be exploited. So that our innocence will not be exploited. Okay? So Srila Prabhupada is taking time to explain it, to guide us. Since we have come to him, since we have come to the devotional part, he has taken it as a duty to guide us, guide our intelligence, so that we will not be misdirected or misled by unscrupulous, commentators whose motive is completely selfish. People who are not qualified to interpret Bhagavad Gita are writing commentaries of Bhagavad Gita. Just like somebody who is a critic writing the Bible, giving his own version of the Bible, or somebody who is a non-Muslim giving his own version of Quran. It will only speculate and try to mislead people from the real spirit of the holy book. So this is what the Prabhupada is trying to guide us against. So all glory to the Prabhupada. And that is the main point, that one should try to follow the discipline succession from Arjuna and thus be benefited by the great science of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Unless we imbibe the spirit of devotion, unless we imbibe the spirit of submission, unless we are ready to accept that the Lord is inconceivable and that we are praying for him to reveal himself to us, unless we enter into that spirit of submission, we cannot understand Bible. So this is what the Prabhupada is doing, trying to protect us. All the fortunate souls who have come to this path, Srila Prabhupada is trying to protect them. So all glory to Srila Prabhupada, because were it not for Srila Prabhupada and his Bhagavad Gita as it is, we wouldn't have known the value. We would have read Bhagavad Gita by scholars who have commercial interests, and we just read it without understanding anything, without benefiting anything. So all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and we host Srila Prabhupada. And if we really want to show gratitude to Srila Prabhupada for this great protection he has given us, we should practice, the instructions in the Bhagavad Gita and maintain loyalty and do it in the spirit of submission exemplarily in order to show others that this is possible. Somebody has done it, somebody is doing it, and you can also do it in that spirit. So just as the Prabhupada is protecting us, we should live it exemplarily and in this way protect the innocent, fortunate souls who are coming on our paths, who have opportunity to associate with us, either in the classroom, either in the school, either in business places, or in any other place where people get our association. Our lives to influence, their thoughts, to clarify things, to provoke them to wanting to know more about who we are. We have to live by example. Very important. Okay. Test 4. Arjuna Uvacha Paramba Batu Janma Param Janma Vibhadvata Katam Etat Vibhadita Tuam Adau Proktavam Iti.
Translation.
Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed these signs to him? Purpose. Arjuna is an accepted devotee of the Lord. So how could he not believe Krishna's words? The fact is that Arjuna is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for the demons who do not like the idea that Krishna should be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For them only, Arjuna inquires on this point, as if he were himself not aware of the personality of Godhead or Krishna. As it will be evident from the 10th chapter, Arjuna knew perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of everything, and the last word in the transcendence. Of course, Krishna also appeared as the son of Devaki on this earth. How Krishna remains the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, the eternal original person, is very difficult for an ordinary man to understand. Therefore, to clarify this point, Arjuna put this question before Krishna so that he himself could speak authoritatively. That Krishna is the supreme authority is accepted by the whole world, not only at present, but from time immemorial. And the demons alone reject him. Anyway, since Krishna is the authority accepted by all, Arjuna put this question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being defeated by the demons, who always try to distort him in a way ununderstandable to the demons and their followers. It is necessary that everyone, for his own interest, know the signs of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious for all the world. To the demons, such explanations by Krishna himself may appear to be strange because the demons always study Krishna from their own standpoint. But those who are devotees heartily welcome the statements of Krishna when they are spoken by Krishna himself. The devotees will always worship such authoritative statements of Krishna because they are always eager to know more and more about him. The atheists who consider Krishna an ordinary man may in this way come to know that Krishna is superhuman, that he is Sakti Ananda Vigraha, the eternal form of bliss and knowledge, that he is transcendental, and that he is above the domination of the modes of material nature and above the influence of time and space. A devotee of Krishna, like Arjuna, is undoubtedly above any misunderstanding of the transcendental position of Krishna. Arjuna's putting this question before the Lord is simply an attempt by the devotee to defy the atheistic attitude of persons who consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being, subject to the modes of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So you get it clearly that now that Arjuna is in ignorance, is an eternal associate of the Lord. But for the sake of the people in general, because generally demons cannot understand Krishna. They can't understand. So every other person, okay, there are two classes of people, the demons and the devotees. The devotees understand Krishna as the supreme personality of God, but the demons do not. Demons are those who do not surrender to Krishna. So you can see that there are many demons working among us. People we meet every day. They don't need to wear horn or tail or protruded teeth before they will be known as demons. Anyone who do not accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord is technically a demon. And Arjuna is revealing their mindset. God will say, hey, Krishna, you are born like me. You have relation, you have father, you have mother, you live on earth, and at the time and you left, and you used to eat, you used to sleep, you used to do everything that human being. How is it that you are God? How can you be accepted as God when you do every other thing? You are the son of Devaki. We all knew you some years back. The son of Devaki. So how are you God? So it's asking on behalf of the atheists and the general mass of people who will not be able to comprehend the supremacy of the Lord. So for their sake, Arjuna is asking the question on behalf of them. You see, so that if
I prepared
huh?
I do.
Aribo, Bakayeka, Aribo, I beg you should mute because you are disturbing the class. Huh? So Arjuna is asking this question on behalf of the people in general. Those who will be thinking as demons, people who think Krishna to be an ordinary person, because Krishna said that he himself spoke this knowledge to some gods. Eh? He's going to explain that later. Say, how is it that you spoke the knowledge to some god when the sun god is senior to you by birth? The sun god is senior to you by birth. So how am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? This is the question that the common man or the atheists, the non-devotees will ask. So Arjuna is asking this question to provoke or to probe Krishna into talking more about himself, to reveal about his janma and his karma, his birth and his activities. Arjuna is trying to provoke, like Krishna brought himself. He has been hiding his identity. But now he has brought himself to the point that he has to speak about himself. Arjuna is very clever. So he asked him, you are saying you are the supreme personality of God that you spoke this science to the Son God. The Son God is older than you by nature. How is it that you spoke this knowledge to him? So by this, Krishna will be forced to talk about his janma and his karma. His appearances, how he's different from the ordinary human being. He said he brought himself, and Arjuna was able to catch him as an intelligent man. Like the most intelligent man in the material world should be able to ask that question. So this is it. From this on, Krishna will start to explain about his real identity, how he is eternal, how is the origin of everything, how he himself and Arjuna were there together, and now how he doesn't forget because his body doesn't change, but Arjuna's body changes. So he's going to explain the difference between the individual soul and the supreme soul. So this is an opportunity for Krishna to explain this. And generally, a gentleman will not start speaking about himself. It will be considered arrogant. If you start speaking about yourself, I am this, I am that. So Arjuna is giving Krishna the chance to speak about himself by asking him this question. If you say you instructed this science to the sun god, how am I to understand this? Because the sun god is senior to you by birth. So Krishna brought himself. Arjuna was waiting for this chance and he took advantage and he threw this question on him. So explain yourself, explain your birth, explain your real identity, explain how you can remember everything but others cannot. Explain yourself. So this is the opportunity given to Krishna to start explaining himself. So this is the beginning, official beginning of Krishna explaining about his real identity and the difference between him and the living entity. So let us see verse 5. And at the end of verse 5, we're going to stop so that we continue from there. Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Bahuni me Vyatitani Janmani Tabatarjuna Taniyam Vedasarvani Natvam Veta Parantapa.
Translation. The personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemies. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, we have information of many, many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated there, Advitam Akutam, Anadim Anatam Gupam, Adiam Purana, Purisam Nava, Yavatemcha, Vedeshu Dulabam, Adulabam Atuma, Batu, Govinda Adim Purisam Tam, Arambajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning, although expanded into unlimited forms. He is still the same original, the oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord are usually not understood by even the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure unalloyed devotees. It is also stated in the Brahma Samhita, Ramadhi
Nana Batarama Karod Bhuvani Sukintu Krishna Swayam Samam Baba Paramapumanyo Govinda Madipurusam Tamaham Bajami.
I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is always situated in various incarnations such as Rama, Nrsimha, and the many sub-incarnations as well. But who is the original personality of the Godhead known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also. In the verse, it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in innumerable forms. He is like the vidrial stone, which changes color, yet still remains one. All those multiforms are understood by the pure, unalloyed devotees, but not by a simple study of the Vedas. Devotees like Arjuna are constant companions of the Lord.
Wait, Vedesu Drulabam, Adrulabam, Atma Bhautao.
Devotees like Arjuna are constant companions of the Lord. And whenever the Lord incarnates, the associate devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of these devotees. And in this verse, it is understood that some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivasvan, Arjuna, in a different capacity, was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that the Lord remembered the incidents, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between the part and the parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who could subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what had happened in his previous past birth. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is in a constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. The Lord is described in the Brahma Samhita as infallible, Ayuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is celebrated as Arjuna. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord. But by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the infallible condition of the Lord, whereas a non-devotee or a demon cannot understand this transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in Gita cannot be understood by demonic brains. Krishna remembers acts which were performed by him millions of years before, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note herein that a living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his accidental body. He is Advaita, which means there is no distinction between his body and himself. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because the Lord's body and self are identical, his position is always different from that of the ordinary living entity. Even when he descends to the material platform, the demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, yes, Krishna, Arjuna asked the question to Krishna so that Krishna can explain his janma and his karma, his appearance and his activities. You see, the living entity is embodied, at the time of birth and disembodied at the time of death. But Krishna is never embodied. Therefore, there is no question of disembodiment on the part of Krishna. Taking a body and giving it up. That is not for Krishna. Because Krishna is never embodied. His body is Sakshit, Ananda, Vigraha. It's eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. It does not deteriorate like human beings' body. Therefore, there is forgetfulness in the human body, but there is no forgetfulness in the Lord. Because the Lord's body is eternally the same. But the living entities change bodies. Sometimes they are embodied, and some other times they are disembodied. So that constitutes the basic difference between the Lord and the living entities. So Arjuna asked these questions in order to provoke the Lord, probe the Lord, try to talk so that he can talk about himself, the difference between his type of body and the body of the living entities. So Krishna is doing just that from this verse. And in the next verse, Krishna is going to continue to explain how he is unborn, how his body never deteriorates, and how is the Lord of all living entities. And despite that, how he still appears in every millennium with his self-same body. So Krishna is forced to talk about his the nature of his real nature, and also the difference between his nature and the nature of all other living entities. All for the benefit and for the understanding of people in general. So it's like the most intelligent person among all living beings is asking questions on behalf of all the living entities. Then the Lord is revealing himself, so that they can all know him through that revelation. That's why this knowledge is called Rahasya. Rahasya. In the other verse, it is mentioned Rahasya. Where is it? Rahasya. Rahasya means a secret, confidential secrets. Rahasya. In verse 3, Rahasya. Rahasya, mystery. The Lord's appearance and disappearance is a mystery. It's a confidential knowledge. It's not knowledge that everyone can understand. There should be some eligibility. There should be some qualifications for understanding the Lord's nature. And what was Arjuna's qualification? Arjuna's qualification was that he was a devotee and also a friend. So only the devotee of the Lord and the friend of the Lord can understand. And therefore, Krishna said in that translation of the verse 3 that very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend. I can therefore understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So unless you have this qualification, you cannot understand the mystery of the Lord's appearance and disappearance and activities. So we have to endeavor to understand this mystery. We should endeavor to understand this mystery. And to understand it, you have to take shelter of those who have understood it and render service to them. Purify our consciousness, purify our intelligence, purify our mind, purify our senses by service, devotional service. Then, by the grace of those who have understood Him, they will now also help you to enter into the mystery of that understanding. This is the whole science. This is how it works. Therefore, you need the mercy of the devotees, you need the grace of the devotees, you need the grace of the spiritual masters, you need the grace of the Lord in the hearts, and you need the grace of His incarnation as the super soul, yes, before you can understand the Lord. It is only by the grace of the Lord in His different manifestations that we can understand the Lord. It's a rahasya. First, you have to become a devotee of the Lord. Then you have to be a friend. You cannot be antagonistic to the Lord and you understand Him. Why? Because you cannot understand the Lord by your own endeavor, by your own intelligence, by your own efforts. But before the Lord can allow you to understand Him, you have to be a devotee. First, you have to offer obeisances first. You have to lie down and offer obeisances. Therefore, we say again, the meaning of obeisances is to agree that, oh Lord, you are inconceivable. I cannot understand anything about you. My intelligence is tiny. But please give me your grace so that I can understand something about you or how to please you. This is the meaning of obeisance. Anyone who doesn't offer obeisances to the Lord can never understand Him, can never enter into the mystery of His understanding. So this is what the Guru Paramparam is teaching us, how to offer obeisances to the Lord and how to act in devotional service so that the Lord will reveal Himself to us proportionally. This is it. So that is it. The Lord cannot be understood by mundane intellectual thoughts. The more you try to understand Him intellectually, the more bewildered we become. Why? Because He is Achyuta, the infallible. The Lord is Achyuta, the infallible, which means He never forgets Himself, even though He's in the material context. Material nature cannot affect the Lord because the Lord is superior to material nature. But we can be affected because even though we are eternal, we are very tiny in our constitution. And that is exactly why living entity, even though eternal, is covered by the illusory energy for some time, and some other time it becomes free. So by qualifying our activities, we can decamp from those who will be affected by material energy or those who will be liberated from the influence of material energy. Okay, so the demoniac brains cannot understand this description. So let us understand this. And in the next verse, we hear more revelation of the Lord about himself, by himself. And the Prabhupada, who is a pure devotee, has given beautiful purpose to the next verse. That verse is too valuable to be rushed. So we stop here today, verse 5, so that in our next class on Thursday, we continue with verse 6. Are there some questions or commentaries on this point? First of all, we want to thank you very much for making yourself available. Those who are not here, they include themselves and they are students. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Very well.
My small question that I want to ask, or I want to be enlightened more. According to test 5 purport, Krishna described himself that his body is Advaita, which means he's dealing with his own body. Why that human nature is humans are different from the soul is different from the material body because they change bodies and at times they are disembodied. So, and according to the purport, I learned that Krishna manifested himself in the form of a woman being, and it was a woman that gave birth to her. So, did he carry his Advaita body, enter the womb, and appear into the world? I understand, but I need more enlightenment.
It did not enter into the womb and be given a material body. He came with his self-same body.
Okay.
He's not given by material nature. He was not given a bodily garment, a prison suit by material nature. No. He came with his self-same body, entered through his devotee, appear with the self-same body. That's why I say it's not embodied. Only embodied souls become disembodied at the time of death. Those who are embodied at birth become disembodied at death. But he is not embodied. He's not given a material body. He has his own spiritual body. He came with that spiritual body. He's with the spiritual body, and he goes with the spiritual body. So it's not embodied. These activities cannot be understood by those who are not devoted, by those who are not aware, by those who are not friendly. Only devotees can understand. That's why the Lord is inconceivable. Only what He wants you to know about Him, He will allow you to know. Yes, He will reveal Himself to you according to your level of consciousness, according to your level of service attitude. Yes. That's why his activities are always mystery, great mysteries to those who do not want to offer obeisances. Those who do not want to lie down and say, "Oh Lord, you are inconceivable." Those people cannot understand it. And that is the etymology of Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, we approach knowledge by submission. That means humility is our watchword. Humility, we humble ourselves because what we want to understand, we accept that thing is bigger than us. Understand? When you want to approach something bigger than you have to humble yourself. When you want to approach something that is very big that you cannot understand, you humble yourself. But the material empiric philosophers, Western epistemology, is that they are superior to whatever they want to study. So they are looking through their own microscope and seeing everybody according to their parochial vision. And they start speculating, try to put themselves in the center, which does not belong to them. But when you are a devotee, you try to see through the microscope of God. You see according to God's vision, knowledge that He has revealed about Himself and His creation. You see through that. You don't depend on your speculative ability because your intelligence is too tiny, your mind is too tiny to understand God properly. See? So the Vedic epistemology is different from Western epistemology. Western epistemology is empiric philosophical speculation, mental speculation, empiric, analyzing things based on our own consciousness, our own mental ability. And we are saying that unless you are a devotee and you carry the attitude of submission, attitude of submissiveness and devotion, you cannot understand Krishna because Krishna is Achyuta, is inconceivable, it's beyond the senses. It can only come within the glimpse of your intelligence. If your activity is pleasing, and if he wants you to have a glance of him, he makes himself available, and immediately it goes beyond the game. So if we are depending on our intellectual abilities to understand Krishna, we will be bewildered more and more. That's why everything about him is bewildering to those who don't want to offer obeisances. Bewildering, they can't understand. They can't understand, but the devotees understand. Devotees understand that this is the Lord, He can do anything He like. He's the source of all powers, and He can appear like a wretched man, He can appear like a rich man, He can appear to come through the body of His devotee, and He can descend from the sky if He wants. He can appear and disappear and descend from the sky if He wants. So the devotees have that full conviction. So they don't make foolish endeavor trying to understand the Lord with speculative abilities. No. So we should become devotees. Only then can we see the Lord properly. And only then can we accept the Bhagavad Gita or approach the Bhagavad Gita in the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita. Is that okay?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So in this regard of what Onyeka God Prabhu said, if Krishna appear with his own body, same body, and pass through, but it is said in the Krishna book that the demigods, they pray for Krishna in the womb, meaning Mother Devaki get pregnant, the belly was big as we humans or we do. So does it mean all those times Krishna was in the same body with the same body in the womb?
It was with the same body. It can become smaller than the smallest, become bigger than the biggest. And he act like that to bewilder those who don't want to surrender, to bewilder them more. So when they look at his activity, they say, he's too bad like us. He's an ordinary man. How can he be God? That is, he put them into deeper level of illusion. God, they don't want to surrender. Krishna doesn't reveal himself to those who are not devotees. See, this is how mystical it is. He can become smaller than the smallest anytime at will. He's Yogeshwara. He entered into the heart. He first appeared in the heart of his father. He entered into the womb of his mother. He appeared outside. He left his womb, the mother's womb. He appeared in the heart of the father. He appeared outside. It is not through childbirth or passing through vagina. No. He just disappeared from there and come out. Appear externally outside. As soon as he lay down there, you see that he was fully decorated with all the ornaments like a Vishnu, fully decorated, and he was grown up. Actually, he appeared as a mature man. He doesn't follow material laws. You want to be born as a baby through your mother's vulva, then you come and it's called placenta and you begin to cry. Krishna doesn't pass through all those. He was full of effulgence, fully decorated. And immediately the mother started to pray. He started speaking. He started speaking big philosophy right from the beginning. And the mother prayed to him, please, you have to reduce yourself to be like ordinary person. Otherwise, people will not believe. If I tell her I give birth to God, it will be ridiculous. The mother of God. How can God have a mother? You see? So he agreed to reduce himself, and the room was full of effulgence, and he gave instruction, take me out of there. He acted as an ordinary person just to bewilder the atheists small. And they had to go and, before they get to the gate opened by itself. The mystical key, only he has it. He opened all the gates, not one gate, maybe 10 to 7 gates, all of them open. All the gate men fall asleep simultaneously. Somebody who carries such a potency, you think somebody who should pass through a seminal discharge to become a baby in the material world? No. With the same body, he entered into the womb. With the same body, he appeared in the heart of. With the same body, he appeared outside. These mystical movements are only understood by devotees, not non-devotees. Those who are able to offer obeisance, say, oh Lord, you are inconceivable. They are the ones who can understand him a little. Understand? Like those who want to calculate him based on who made the material design of how a child come to this world. Who made the design? It is him through his agents. He made the design. He doesn't need to pass through that design. He's superior to that design. So he acts according to his own will, just like that. Even with his own eyes, he can eat. With his nose, he can sing. And with his ears, he can see. And with his leg, he can eat. Everything about him, all the senses are interchangeable. He's not limited. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
But Mother
He's
Devaki,
God of
Mother Devaki, in order not to let the world see that he is the mother of God, still he is the mother of God. Whether Krishna changed to small or he is the mother of
people will ridicule her and they will give her distance. They will not associate us. They will say she's crazy. That's what they will say. They will say this woman is crazy. I say, how can you become mother of God? Eh? You, I know. You that eat local food there, you become mother of God. Eh? She doesn't want them to alienate her. She wants to still function with the human society. So he said, please transform yourself to that of a baby so that the people can relate to me. They will not think I'm mad. You see? And he started behaving as a baby. Merely reduced himself as a baby. Second, like somebody who doesn't know. This is how independent the Lord is. Anything he wants to do. If you want to appear through the pillar, he just appear in a single day. As the devotee is thinking of him, my Lord is reading this pillar. He appeared through the pillar. Can appear as a fish, can appear as a tortoise, can appear as a boa. All the incarnations, he took them just, to give pleasure to devotees and to so that he's supremely independent. It's not limited to any kind of, structure. He can appear anywhere, anytime. So this is the Lord, completely inconceivable, supremely independent. That is the Lord that we are worshiping. Are you not proud to worship such a God? You should be proud that that is the type of God you worship. And that is Him for us. So no matter anybody call us, say we are worshiping idol, yes, that is your ignorance. I continue to worship this my beautiful idol. Well decorated idol is the altar. And we worship him. Non-devotees cannot comprehend him. But the only devotees. That's why you have to understand Bhagavad Gita in the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. Approach Gita in the spirit of Bhagavad Gita. See? Okay, thank you very much. And once again,
But actually, You are really transcendental. See your transcendental form is appearing.
Oh,
Now you are seeing your transcendental form in
forgive
Nigeria.
us. Forgive us.
So
There is not a time who is appearing there. By the mercy
Nigeria
of
better
Abuba,
for you.
by the mercy
Nigeria
of the
better for you.
This devotee is called Abuba. He has manifested the Lord in different forms in the compound. So anyway, that is it. Maharaj is coming tomorrow.
Yes,
He's coming tomorrow in the
thank
afternoon.
you. Thank you for the
So
update also.
you people should prepare to receive him. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare. Thank you, Purushottam Yatra Prabhu. Thank you, Oyeka God Jehovah. Thank you, Pranapriya Mataji. And thank you for your active participation. See you on Thursday by His grace. Hare Krishna. Jai. Vanchakapatarmiya Chaki Pasita. Chitanam Pavanando. Vaishnavatyo Namo Namaha. Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yeah.
Jai.